Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome. It's 7 minutes after the hour on the 25th day of February in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Somebody said that we have a leap year this year.
Yes.
Do we have a 29th?
Yes, we do. Yep, it's
wow.
Leap year. Mm-hmm.
That's every election year, right, Bob?
Is that what it is every election year?
An Olympic year. Olympic and election.
Okay. All right, so Monday we have a leap year, and babies who are born on leap year always have an interesting time. I have a couple friends who were born on the 29th, and it's about 50-50 whether they like it or not. You know, obviously some people say, you know, I don't get a 29th birthday, or I don't get a birthday every year on the 29th like everybody else. And then I often hear that it's fun to not have that day and just do whatever you want, and you can celebrate with it whenever you want, and et cetera, et cetera. So I like that. All right, it is a little bit after the hour. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, Tamara Scott. If everything went okay, she is a new grandmother today. I think it would be her third. Her daughter was in Minneapolis expecting to have a C-section delivery or this morning. I haven't heard from her. Not that I would be heard from her, but hopefully that went all right and things are good. And as I recall, this is kind of a miracle baby because they thought they lost the baby at one point during the pregnancy, and they didn't. I want to introduce you to my special guest this hour. Pete, you're with drugfreeiowa.org, right? Okay. And just say your last name for me. Komendowski.
Peter Komendowski, yes.
I did that pretty good.
You did
Peter
great.
Komendowski. All right, now, and Peter's going to be here for the whole hour, and but we're going to talk about some other things, not just the marijuana thing on Capitol Hill. And you're welcome to participate in any of the other conversations. But I've got a couple things I need to cover today. I'm a little surprised at something that I need to discuss. First of all, somebody help me. Somebody help me. Monday Night's Chants, CHANTS, from within the Dallas Center Grimes student section, traveled across the court faster than activities director Steve Watson could silence them. This from a Des Moines Register story. The Class 3A district playoff game turned sour for Perry fans, meaning the city of Perry, and boys basketball players who heard the cheers, Trump, Trump, Trump. So these are kids at Dallas Center Crimes chanting Trump, Trump, Trump. Well, apparently, the kids on the Perry side saw that as a racist statement because they are heavily Latino in Perry, and they're claiming that this was a racist statement. Trump, Trump, Trump. Perry's multi-ethnic and growing Latino population got the message that picked up GOP presidential frontrunner Donald Trump's anti-immigration comments. How come the Register can't get that right? It's anti-illegal immigration comments. It's not anti-immigration comments.
True.
In fact, I thought it was interesting. In Nevada, Trump won the Latino vote. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, it was only 10%, but yes, he did win it.
Now, the programs northwest of Des Moines are thrust into a complex conversation about sportsmanship, respect, and crowd control at high school athletic events. Dallas Center Grimes and Perry are approaching the fallout as a learning opportunity. Dallas Center Grimes has addressed our concern, and certainly we're all listening we're all wishing it hadn't happened. Perry Activities Director Tom Lipovec said, quote, I've spoken to Steve in the last 2 days, that would be the superintendent, and have been in contact with our superintendent. Their principal has contacted our principal. Their basketball coach is in contact with our basketball coach. Quote, what a few might do doesn't represent the sportsmanship of the school district. It's fans, students, or administrators. Perry Sr., Shamond Ivory, said, quote, it's honestly disrespectful. That's how I take it. I hear it during the game, on and off the court, everywhere I go. No Perry varsity players are Latino. And the team's coach, Ned Menke, said about 48% of the student body population is in the minorities. And I can go on and read this, but I just...
Well, can I be...
I've never heard that when you say Trump, 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 or Trump whatever, that is a sign of racism.
Well, let me help you. In case
all right, Frank, you can help
I mentioned this to you the other day.
Peter, if you want to throw your 2 cents in here, you can, or you can stay out.
I've actually talked to some parents about it that live up in that area, and similar things happened at Boone High School as well.
All right, go ahead, Frank.
Well,
lay some wisdom on
Well,
us.
here's the wisdom. Michael, I call him Nutty, Michael Nutty Nutter, who is either the former or current serving mayor of Philadelphia, said the other night on an MSNBC talk panel, or CNN, I can't remember which, that the statement, Make America Great Again, which Trump is using as his campaign theme, is a slam against Obama, a black president, and is tinged with racism. So just mentioning the mere name of Trump is going to invoke calls for racism.
Peter Komendowski, who is the president of the Governor's Office of Drug Control Policy and also with the Partnership for Drug-Free Iowa. I'm just telling you that's who he's with. He's not here in that capacity.
I'm actually not on the Governor's Office of Drug Control Policy. They're great supporters of ours.
Oh, okay.
And they give us a space there, but the fact is that we are a private foundation, the Partnership for Drug-Free Iowa.
I'm sorry, it says on your card.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble with the governor. He's been doing a pretty good job.
No, I don't want you to get in trouble with the governor either. But tell me what you heard from parents or whatever.
Well, apparently there were unruly children, and it was on the news at Boone High School and in that Dallas Center Grimes game. And in both cases, the audience was directing slurs towards the other team. And they were referred to as exhibitions of tremendously bad sportsmanship. But what the parents did note was the fact that they were cheering Trump. And to invoke in our democracy the name of a presidential candidate in the context of an insult, is really out of line. I mean, the fact is Trump doesn't deserve it, and it shouldn't be used in that way. Whether we disagree or agree with what he's pushing, the fact that children are being disrespectful and beginning to coin a phrase that's targeting a minority, I don't think that's very cool in America today. And that's what we heard. Parents, now I did hear that in Dallas Center Grimes, they jumped right on it in the game. But in Boone, they were a little slow to the trigger.
All right, so help me understand. So I don't think you and I agree on this one, but let's see.
Well, we may not.
If someone wants to hear the name Trump as a sign of racism, isn't that their problem in what they're hearing, not in the problem of what's being said? I mean, I can understand if it was the N-word or there's all kinds of slangs for Latinos and black people. Heck, you can call me cracker anytime. I don't care. But aren't we really getting so easily offended by this? I just don't. I don't know. I'm lost on it.
Well, you might have a point. The fact is that what the fans showed at those games was very bad sportsmanship by targeting the players, either the physical look, how they played. I mean, they were fairly negative. They were not. It wasn't a positive experience for a lot of people in the audience when a few fans made derogatory statements. But it's also easy to understand when you put into context the use of the word Trump. Is that children are always looking for social leverage, a way to get attention. And Trump's name is plastered all over the media. There's been millions and millions of dollars of free media for the name. And it's often associated with a few very extremist views in some people's minds. So children adopt this nomenclature. I think their intention, from what I've heard from people who were there, was that it was a derogatory phrase. They used the name in a derogatory way in the context of other insults of the players, where they came from, and their ethnic background.
Okay, so all right. So there were other things said that letters put together into a word are recognized as racist.
Right, and it was put in the context of that. The word was dropped into other.
I mean, if a bunch of people started chanting Obama, could I, as a white guy, say, "Hey, you're being racist to me"?
Well, if you had let's try and contextualize this in a different way. You have a team that has, as part of its team and its fans, a minority. There were other derogatory phrases directed at that team relating to that minority, and then they threw the name in. Now, if I was at that same game and I was insulting people of a minority, and then I started chanting Mac McCoy, Mac McCoy, Mac McCoy, you might take some insult as to why are you placing me with this other group of information in some ways. In a way, they're sort of endorsing a negative action with a reputable presidential candidate. And I don't think that association, I mean, if this was a business like Nabisco, they might have some legal issues with stuff like that.
The problem I'm having, unless I missed it, it doesn't sound like they're referencing the other things that were in the story. They're simply referencing Trump. They're not referencing the other belligerent comments that were made.
Let me look, because I think I did hear, or I think I did read something about that, but I'll look into that. Also, we're coming back here live in Mac's World. Thanks for listening.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
21 minutes after 3 o'clock, 3:21, 25th day of February in the Lord's year 2016. Got some really fun stuff. I'm being sarcastic when I say fun stuff. There's just a couple stories that I want to get to. And I'm going to want you, the listeners, to participate. So do me a favor. In about 2 minutes, try to grab a pencil and paper or pull off to the side of the road. And I'm going to give you a couple numbers that I want you to put in your phone. One is our Service Legends Truth Text Talk line, where you can text us, and Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat and the text, can read it to us. And the other is our studio line, so it's your voice we can hear. A little bit later on, we're going to get to three things today. And I have a guest next hour, Pastor Steve Bailey from North Point, and I want to make sure that he's okay with participating in some of these conversations. But the one is the one we've started the show with, and that's this thing going on in high school sports, especially Perry, Boone, Dallas Center, Grimes, etc., that students will start chanting Trump, 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 as in Donald, 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 and the other side hears racism. And I'm just trying to go there. I'm trying to have some empathy for these kids at Perry High School where this happened. I'm trying to have empathy. I'm trying to see where, because right now my PC radar goes off. Oh, you're a bunch of whiners. Cut it out. You're hearing what you want to hear. Stop trying to be the word police. I've got a constitutional right to say what I want to say. And if you want to hear it differently than I say it, that's not my problem. Frank?
When, as a avid Nebraska fan, self-described most arrogant fans in the business,
pompous and arrogant.
Pompous and arrogant.
Yes.
And is this anything new? I mean, this is collegiate, high school, little league athletics as we know it, and we've known it for years and years and years. It just happens to be something different now. But I can remember high school sports when I was in high school, and it wasn't any more pleasant then than it is now. There was always state rivalries, town rivalries between Lincoln and East, North and East, Lincoln and whoever, Dowling. I mean, there's always these bitter, contentious gang fights, all kinds of things that goes on. You get beat up you go over to the other opposing kid's school, and your kids get roughed up over there. They come to your school, they get roughed up. Nothing new here. This is, move on past. There's nothing to see.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Frank.
This text says, it was immature students, not adults, using the Trump name. By using the word fans, you are lumping the two together.
Yeah, I guess I'm just reading the story. Thanks for that text. I guess I am. I'm reading the story as the Des Moines Register wrote it because I want to give them credit. And yes, I am. I'm lumping them all together because it was apparently just a few students that were doing this. It was not parents. It was not any teachers, administration, anything like that. All right, so that's one story. Another story later on. I want to talk with Peter about this new marijuana drug bill because I'm in my office the other day just minding my own business quite happily and peacefully and just taking care of my own life, and my phone blows up and it's Peter, and he's jumping up and down madder than a Tasmanian devil for what's going on down at the State House, and so I want to hear from him. And then later, and feel free to call me old and white. I'm okay with that.
Old and white.
They have transgendered bathrooms at Roosevelt High School now.
What, for old white people?
No. So I want to talk about that too. It's a big deal. KCCI did a big story on it. A young lady by the name of Zoe Wagner, who worked with the Hillary Clinton campaign when it was here in town. She hopes to be president someday. She decided that it was time for her school, Roosevelt High School, to be the first in the school district to have, what did she call it? Genderless bathrooms. So now there is not a men's or a women's. There is just stalls.
Okay. Now, does that mean both sexes can be in the bathroom at the same time?
Yes.
Is that with all the bathrooms, or did they just designate certain ones?
I think they've designated a couple of them. I don't think it's all of them. I think they've designated some of them as that.
No, I have no problem with family-type restrooms that's unisex, but it's one person at a time. But I would have a big issue with boys and girls being in the same bathroom. That's a recipe for good behavior, isn't it, Bob?
Yeah. Ethan on chat says only 2 bathrooms in the library.
Okay. And Zoe, who did this all, and she got quite a lot of publicity on it. Good for her. She says, yes, and I am a devout Christian. And if God made everybody in his image and with love and perfection, he should accept all people as they are. No one person is better or worse than any other. Didn't she just contradict herself? We should all accept people as they are. Okay? You have indoor plumbing. You have outdoor. That's the way God made you. All right, so...
Well, that depends on how they feel that certain day. Maybe they have the outdoor plumbing, but they happen to feel like they have the indoor plumbing that particular day.
All right, a few minutes ago, I asked you to pull over or grab a pen or something. Here's a couple numbers I would like you to remember. First is the... and you just put here, put Max World, MAC''S World, WORLD. And then you've got the studio line, which is 515-244-0077. And then you have a text line, and that's the Service Legends Truth Talking text line. You don't have to write all that down. Brian Leach would probably appreciate it if you did. And that's 515-809-0993. And apparently if you don't put 515, you end up talking to somebody who's really tired of getting texts on her number because she's not happy about it.
It probably depends on your carrier, be my guess.
Is that what it is? Okay. So those are the 2 numbers, and very soon we're going to have a third number for you. We are aware that there's a service out there, and you've got your smartphone, and if you text to a certain number, the audio of the radio station will come up automatically, live. So we're working on that. So people who are just driving down the road and or they're out of town or they're out of state and they want to hear the show, they can just text that. But we don't have that yet.
Wow.
All right. Now, we're going to open up. Phone lines are open, but we're going to specifically ask you to chime in on the genderless bathrooms. And I think, Bob, the question you asked is an important one. Is it all of the bathrooms or just a few? The answer is there's just a few. So there are still bathrooms available for boys who only want to pee with boys and for girls who only want to go to the bathroom with girls. Okay?
Okay.
So I think that's important. I think that's important to note. All right, I want to go to Peter Komendowski. He is the president of a Partnership for Drug-Free Iowa, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you called me the other day, and you had, you correct me, this is your story, not mine. You had been sitting in on some subcommittee hearings or some hearings on state capital, Iowa, on this legalization of medical marijuana and the ability to sell it here in Iowa or get it here in Iowa. And you sensed something. Your radar went off, and you sensed something else was going on. What was that?
Well, quite frankly, we all came there with the idea that we were trying to narrow down a bill to make it functional so that children with the seizures related to epilepsy could get an oil with CBD in it and no THC. And I'll go back to what I really think is going on, but the fact is that I'm sitting at the Senate subcommittee hearing, and there were a couple of people that talked about their children and seizures, but the vast majority of the people were speaking about cannabis. There were organizations there with posters that said cannabis that were using that forum as a discussion about legalizing marijuana. and THC. For a lot of uses that have no real medical efficacy at this time. So we see two things happening. First of all, I'm wary about a bill that the legislature is using to put Iowa in the business of producing and making a medicine that's not sanctioned by the FDA. I mean, if we went to our legislators and said, man, we need more milk in our schools for our kids, they're not going to open up farms and start milking cows. They're going to go to A&E Dairy and say, hey, we need more milk.
Yeah.
In this case, they want to sort of get the government into the business. Well, we look at that template and we think, what are the real numbers here? First of all, I was sort of disgruntled that the hearing became a talk about smoking weed for pain, for PTSD, for everything else that has no medical clearance. At the same time, we were there to discuss CBD oil for the children that have these seizures.
All right, let me ask you a real quick question. Do you think it was a roost? No, that's not the red herring.
Ruse.
In other words, do you think those people who were verbally talking about let's smoke it, let's do whatever we want with it, are really against any type of legalization of oil or marijuana? And that would make people like you go, oh, this is sickening.
No, they're in favor of legalizing. They want to legalize.
These people are the real deal.
Well, you don't know. I don't know who motivates them, what gets them there.
The recreational users are using the sympathy for the natural sympathy that we would have for children who have epileptic seizures, and they're using that sympathy in a nefarious way to push recreational use.
Absolutely. That's exactly my belief. Because we know that we're doing clinical trials at University of Iowa Hospital. We have no major medical pharmaceutical organization that says that we should end run the whole system of the FDA and pharmacies and doctors and medicines. But the trials being done at University of Iowa at their children's hospital by Dr. Joshi are showing some promise. And GW Pharmaceuticals is on track to have Epidiolex, that CBD-based drug for these kids, possibly in the pipeline in Iowa by 2017. Now, we're hearing people telling us, the FDA will take 10 years to approve this. No, Senators Grassley and people like that have been working with the FDA to say, hey, we want to fast-track this. We have Iowa people that need this stuff.
All right, let's go to the phones real quick. 515-244-0077. It's your voice we want to hear live in Mac's World. Bill, you're live on the air. How you doing, Bill?
Pretty good. How are you guys today?
Good. What's your thoughts on this?
Hey, I'm an ex-drug addict. Well, I am a drug addict, and I've been clean for about 12 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I didn't just start running after cocaine and shoving a needle in my arm. I started with marijuana, and then I moved up from there. And I watched a program this morning where there was a doctor in California that he just said, I prescribe it for everything. And they asked him, well, is there something that you won't prescribe it for? And he wouldn't say no. But he just said, I prescribe it for everything. And if it works for children and with the seizures, it's a good thing. But you're going to have doctors that are prescribing it to everybody. But, I mean, it's out there. It's so easy to get, just like everything else. But it's just, All
right, but Bill, real quick, I'm running out of time. You'd be okay with a medical oil to help these kids?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It helps them if it actually helps them.
All right, Bill, thanks for listening, man. I appreciate you listening to 99.3 The Truth here in Des Moines. We're coming back. Peter Komendowski is my guest. We're talking about medical marijuana and later transgenders' bathrooms. Yep, Roosevelt High School. Got him.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed raters free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour, 3:38 in the afternoon here live in Mac's World. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Can't believe that I get to get up every day, and I get to come into this studio, and I get to talk with you about our community. I admit it. I've got the coolest job in the world. I don't believe I've ever woke up and said, I really don't want to go to work today. Now, we did talk the other day how I needed a vacation.
Yeah, but wasn't that from somebody or some of your guests? I'm just saying. No.
Oh, that was
no. He
Frank.
needed a.
Oh.
He used to play poker in Las Vegas, and he hasn't done it because it always collided with the Daytona 500. And the Daytona 500 was last week, so he was opining for the days when he used to take vacation.
True. He's probably right. I used to go out right after New Year's and spend a couple months out at a friend's house in Las Vegas, and I'd go in real early in the morning, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, to the Luxor, and I'd play poker till noon, 2 o'clock, and then I'd come home, and I'd be in bed by 6 or 7 o'clock. And I haven't done that in ages, and I'm probably not going to do it. And by the way, for those listening, I'm a tournament poker player. I'm not a cash guy. Have I ever played a cash game? I don't think I've ever played a cash game. But I was the Iowa poker champion for 2 years running. But that's all, you know what I mean by tournament. It's like you see on TV. All right. So anyway, but Frank's gone tomorrow, so it'll be like a vacation day.
Vacation.
There you go.
All right, Peter Komendowski is on the in the studio with us. He's the president of the Partnership for a Drug-Free Iowa. He was very frustrated. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, when we're talking about working with children that have these seizures from epilepsy, we'd like to stay on point and not make it about 17 other diseases and a bunch of other treatments that aren't even considered at this time.
Now, you said that there are how many kids in Iowa that can be benefited, that can benefit from this drug?
Well, based on the first law that was enacted, and I may be a little off on the numbers, but I'm pretty close, they had a permit system set up to allow them to use this drug. And there were somewhere around, as I understood it, 60 to 70 kids that had a permit, and then another couple hundred caregivers or 100 caregivers that are allowed to have the permit to be around it. So we're not looking at a huge number. Now, that means if you're looking at it as a business person, not a big number with a lot of cost means a lot of cost per person and who's going to pay for this. And so you start looking at, is this framework set up for a recreational program where they can sell a lot of stuff and justify this kind of expense?
All right, tell me why there's any expense. I mean, there are manufacturers making this stuff, and it's being distributed in other states.
It's not FDA approved. There's no insurance reimbursement. There's no quality control standards managed by the FDA. So oftentimes, I've actually read articles where they've examined CBD oils that are intended for children with seizures and found high levels of THC in it, which you're supposed to keep out of it. And this is what our government does do well, is regulate the content of stuff, especially medicines.
All right, I have stupid written on my forehead here. I got to ask a question. Talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
THC? The THC is the active ingredient in marijuana.
No, I know that, but how would you use it?
Well, they can't separate it, or they don't separate it properly, and so it's going to be mixed in.
I know, but how would I use the oil to get high?
Oh,
Well,
just
you
like hash
consume
oil in
it.
the old days.
Yeah.
You can't
Smoke
discern.
it?
Sprinkle
You
it on a
smoke it in
cigarette.
An e-cigarette. An e-cigarette will do it. Or you can dip a cigarette in it.
Oh, okay.
You know, basically, years ago, when they had marijuana, they had hash, they had opiates, and people would make hash oil because it was easy to disguise. You could just dip your cigarette in it, smoke in a public space, things like that. And it's just coming back again. This isn't new technology.
Well, they used to lace marijuana with opium oil.
Yep.
Same basic thing.
Yeah.
One point I wanted to make, when they first had the medical quote-unquote marijuana in California, it was reported, pretty widely reported, that for $250, anybody could get that benefit. All you had to go in was go in and tell a doctor, oh, I got some ailment, I can't sleep at night, I got back problems, I've got this, I've got that. For $250, you could get the license or the card that you could smoke the medical marijuana. It's a scam.
You know, I tell people in Iowa that when you call your legislators and say, don't buy this marijuana stuff, we don't want it in Iowa. When we look at medical marijuana states and the prescriptions, at one time a study in California came out that of the millions of prescriptions written, the vast majority of them were written for pain. Over 85% of the prescriptions were to give regular marijuana for pain, not the medical aspects. And the average age of the person getting that prescription for chronic pain was 29. Boy, we have a really hurting culture if all the 29-year-olds are suffering from such pain, they need all these drugs.
All right, so Peter Komendowski is my guest. He's the president of the Partnership for Drug-Free Iowa. Right now we're talking about this marijuana thing on the Hill. Peter was up there yesterday listening to a Senate subcommittee as they were discussing this, and it was there were all these other pro-regular marijuana user people there.
Right.
Who kind of shifted the momentum of the meeting into let's smoke it, let's sell it, let's grow it, let's buy it, let's. Now, if I'm one of the 75 children in Iowa that suffer from these certain kinds of epileptic seizures, how is that oil applied? How is it in the system of the baby? You know what I'm saying?
On the tongue.
On the tongue.
Yeah, diluted in some way. Yeah.
All right.
They're not smoking it or anything like that.
Okay, so it's on the tongue. So if that has THC in it, then if I took it and put it on my tongue, so I don't even have to smoke it.
Nope. You'll still get high.
You can eat it in a cookie or a candy. I mean, they sell it in gummy bears and chocolate and brownies and cookies and energy drinks, all kinds of stuff out in the states they legalized it.
All right, now I'm going to ask a question that some of my listeners are going to be upset or disappointed that I'm asking, but I'm going to ask it anyway. This stuff's all going to be legal anyway pretty soon, isn't it?
Doesn't have to be. You know, if we go back to usage trends back in the 60s and 70s, there used to be a much higher percentage than today that used marijuana. And at that time, the perception of risk was very, very low, especially amongst kids. Well, since the 70s, and one thing that really is distinctive about the 70s is that a lot of us grew up with stoners, with people that got high. And, you know, growing up with that class of people made you realize that this isn't a good idea if I want to have a family, kids, a good job, and be respected. So what we saw over the years, from the 70s down to the 80s and 90s, the perception of risk with marijuana was fresh in their minds. They had seen all this smoking in the 60s and 70s, and they said, I don't want anything to do with this. So the marijuana use went way down. Well, it sort of got off the radar. People forgot about it. But, man, people still want to make money selling weed. And all of a sudden, that perception of risk is way down, so nobody's worried about it, and they're pushing it again. So I would expect that it's just like a cycle, like interest rates or anything else that goes up and down. The question is, do we want to take a risk and begin to legislate the opening of the door to this conception that marijuana might be safe. See, we're talking about a distillate of something called marijuana, something called CBD, cannabidiol, that's put into a medicine for children with a problem. It's one out of what they admit are 85 compounds that you can pull out of marijuana. It's a far cry from smoking weed or it becoming legal at some time. But that confusion that the media has created that's lowered the perception of risk gives people the idea that it's going to happen anyway. But I assure you, just like alcohol and tobacco use has gone down with children because we've worked really hard to educate them about the risks, the same thing will happen with marijuana. But do we want to put our Iowans behind the 8 ball at large with this reduced perception of risk of marijuana because we're starting to call it medicine when that's not a good word?
Peter Komendowski is here. He's the president of Drug Free Iowa today.
I won't be so politically correct. I'm a little bit more jaded. I'm sure you probably are in private, but I'm not shocked that rats keep trying to chew their way into people's houses, and I'm not shocked that recreational dopers are still trying to legalize dope. I mean, it's just a fact of life. I mean, and they think they have the momentum and the wind at their backs now because it's happening in other states. So it's like the Democrats in healthcare or whatever went on when Obama got in office, the gay marriage, whatever. They thought they think their time is now, and the dopers think their time is now.
And really, what gets me is that the people talking about cannabis refuse to allow the children that need this little drug to stay the focus of this.
Right.
They're turning it into all marijuana and all cannabis, and a lot of the actions it actually look like they're trying to open this door broader. I wish we'd stay focused on what these kids need. You know, maybe find a way to deliver it from Colorado to them if they want to use it, and wait for our medical care system to do it.
All right, Peter Komendowski is here, president of Drug Free Partnership for Drug Free Iowa. Pastor Steve Bailey coming up. We'll talk about transgendered bathrooms. They're happening.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for the opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, 3:50 on the 25th day of February in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. I am more appreciative of this radio station and our listeners as time goes on. I think I've shared with you before. It was a Holy Spirit, God initiated project. When 5 years ago, we set on this journey to take this little station in Boone and physically move the signal so it would be a Des Moines signal. And I'm not going to explain radio. I don't even know if I could explain radio, but it isn't just a question of turning up the power or moving a studio into Des Moines. There's a whole technical thing that's got to be done. And
well, you could do it if we want to turn this into a sales meeting.
What?
One of our Thursday meetings, you could explain it.
But it's just such a blessing, and it's so God-breathed, and the fact that 98.3 decided to get out of the format, and when you push, when you're at 98.3 and you push scan, and the next station is ours, and our phones light up, our emails go crazy, our texts go crazy. I've had the distinct pleasure of building several new radio stations in this market over my 40-some-year career, and I've watched them take off, and I've seen the signs of when a radio station is going to be successful or when it was a failure to change to that format or whatever that's been. And the way you, the listener, is responding to this station is just awesome. And what I mean by that is you're not all telling us you like what you hear. And that's incredibly important. I was in the restaurant business for years, and my kids, I wanted to build a business that my kids could work at in junior high and high school, and then while they were going to college. And as soon as my kids got out of that age frame, as soon as Samantha, the youngest, moved away and went to college, we sold all the restaurants. We were done with them. But I used to tell people, hey, thanks for telling me you like my meatloaf or my cheeseburgers or my French fries or whatever. Thanks for telling me that. Make sure you tell me when you don't. And your input to me, what I call constructive criticism, is very important. I can take it. I'm a big boy. I've been around a long time, and I don't get easily offended by the way people present what they don't like. Some people just don't have the communication skills to say something nicely. It's just, well, don't you know, I don't like that Dr. Brown. I don't like that. He used to be a Jew, and I'm not that big into Jews. Thanks for telling me. I appreciate that. Oh, you got that one guy does that show at 5 o'clock every day, and he doesn't know what all he's thinking about. He doesn't know everything. Thank you. I need to hear those things. You can communicate with me through my Facebook page. You can go to 993thetruth.com. You'll go to a page that is shared by myself and the station, and there's plenty of places there to contact me. My personal phone number, you can have that, 515-229-6292. I always want to hear from you. It's your voice I want to hear.
Well, you obviously remember the old movie critics, Siskel and Ebert.
Oh, yeah.
They always said the movie to go to wasn't the movie everyone loved. It wasn't the movie everyone hated. It was the one that got a mixed review of hatred and love.
Yeah.
So you want to hear both sides of the debate is what you think you're trying to say.
Well, let me put it this another way. Whenever Bob's name is brought up in the public, they love him.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Bob.
And then mention the verse.
And then they mention Frank the Verse Thomas, and nobody likes him. So I've got love and hate right here.
Now, that's not true, because Tony chimed in the other day and said he absolutely agreed. In your file, you had to open your file.
Yeah, Peter, one guy calls up and says, I agree with Frank. And now it's like, golden boy over here.
But we're not sure if Frank sent that or not. So.
Yeah, we don't know. I think I want to inspect his private phone there. All right. We're getting ready to take a break here in about 4 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to have a couple different topics. Pastor Steve Bailey from North Point Church in Ankeny is going to join us. And Peter, if you want to hang around, you're welcome to slide over here. Frank got you the Howard Cosell headphones there because it's got a microphone on it and you can talk. But one of the things we're going to talk about, have you been listening, Steve, on the radio driving in? Okay. Are you okay participating in the conversation about transgenders? All right, because I don't want to put you in a difficult position with your... Okay. It was announced yesterday or the day before that Roosevelt High School now has 2 restrooms in their school that are transgendered. And actually, they're genderless bathrooms. And there's a young lady by the name of Zoe Wagoner who also has on her Facebook page that she works for the Hillary Clinton campaign, but she's in high school. She noticed that a woman in the bathroom who identifies himself as a man was very uncomfortable back in the girls' restroom. And so she decided to do something about it. And yesterday was the results of that. And it's here. Transgendered bathrooms in our government schools are here. And I think it's important to recognize that when the school says it's okay, a lot of times mom and dad's opinion goes out the window. Well, we do it at school. School says it's all right. I mean, if they're good enough to teach me math, Mom, then they're obviously good enough to teach me about transgendered people. And it really can cause a problem around the dinner table at home with parents who don't agree with this mindset.
I've got a text.
A text to the Service Legends Truth Talk text line at 515-809-0993. Go ahead.
I work for a local insurance company, and there is a transgender individual who has outdoor plumbing but wants indoor plumbing. As a female, I refuse to use the bathroom with a man, so I walk across to the other side of the building to avoid it.
She has to go to the other side of the building to get a regular restroom? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I want to hear from you next hour. I want to open up the phone lines. I want you to text. Let me give you the text line again, 515-809-0994. And then
993.
993. What did I say? 4?
994.
0993. It's ridiculous, Mac. And then our studio line is 515-244-0077. Would you use a transgendered bathroom if it was available to you? That's the question. Would you use a transgendered bathroom, a genderless bathroom, if it was available to you? Okay. Service Legends Truth Text Talk Line, 515-809-0993. Studio line, 515-244-0077. Steve Bailey, Pastor Steve Bailey from North Point Church will be our guest next hour, and I think Peter's going to hang around. I'm glad of that. And all I need is your voice. It's your voice that I want to hear here in Mac's World on the truth. Yep, it's about time, huh? One side, one truth. A biblically centered radio station that can say the name of Jesus all day long and never get in trouble. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Coming back. Thanks.